It did scare me. Oh, don't get me wrong. It was a scary moment because I did a process called automatic writing, and I was doing it at like 2 or 2:30 in the morning, as you do when you're, 13, 14-year-old. And sitting there and you kind of work, and all of a sudden the pen did move by itself. Oh my goodness. It was like, boom, pen over that way, book over in this other direction. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? Welcome, I'm Peter Williams, and for the past 10 years, I've been connecting with thousands of people from the stage and online to help them discover the importance of spiritual and energetic practices so they can thrive with confidence, clarity, and purpose. It is time to awaken your connection, align with your soul, and achieve your own inner power right here on the Inna Powa Podcast. Hey everyone, oh my goodness, I am so excited to finally be here. If this is your first time listening or even finding me, I just want to say thank you, and I believe that you're here for a reason. If you are one of the awesome Inna Powa tribe and community, or you've been following me around and after all the live shows and whatever else, and you're going, yes, I want to hear more of you, I applaud you for your patience and thank you for listening and tuning in, and I love it. As those people who do know, I have been toying with this and kind of trying to nurture this podcast, and I finally am here. I am finally ready, but you know what? It is all in perfect divine timing. The amount of wonderful inspiration, insight, and beautiful knowledge that has been coming through to me in the past 6 months has just been insane, but in such a beautiful way. And I've just been able to bring it all together, and finally, here it is, and we are ready to rock with the Inna Powa Podcast. For those who are new, like Inna Powa, what it's all about, I just want to say, like, the motto here is awaken, align, and achieve. And this is what it's about. After all the work that I've done, I've been connecting with so many beautiful souls, both on this side and the other side, and so many wonderful messages of love, inspiration, peace, and healing. And the biggest message that I have been receiving over and over again has been the fact of, hey, Pete, remind everyone that's in front of you that they are the ones still living. And the question is, they're saying, are they doing that? You need to remind them that they are the ones still living, and remind them to do that very thing, to live. And this is where it comes about. And the beautiful thing is, and the inspiration behind all of this is those three words: awaken, align, achieve. Awaken just is all about that, letting you know, and I help people and take people through the journey of learning to, again, tap in to themselves, their soul, and learn to connect to that greater universal energy, and know that you have these abilities. You do have them. Whether you believe it or not, you might think that you have the abilities of a tree branch. I guarantee you, you might think that. I can prove you that you have more than that. But the beautiful thing is, I take people through that journey, that process, to awaken more of that inside of them and to tap into that. And then from there, you start to realize and elevate yourself, and you start to get back into the groove and remind yourself what you came here to do, and see that you are capable of doing it. And then, of course, it's through the achieve of keeping you in that space, holding you accountable to this newfound power, drive, motivation, inspiration, and helping you stay there and keep that momentum going. And this is what it's all about. And that is what Inna Powa is. And I help you to go that. And this is the journey. And now what I've been driven to do is really come out here and drive this message home. And I'm so happy that you're here sharing this with me right here, right now. And I just want to say a huge thank you. So where this comes from, the massive inspiration for me, and I hope this sinks in for you. I really do, because this has been a game changer for me. It is something that is always in the back of my mind, and it really does affect all of the decisions that I do make with my life, my family, and of course, my business and my clients. And that phrase is be the change. That is, of course, paraphrased from Mahatma Gandhi. It's like, It is be the change. You need to create that space. If you want to see the world be a better place or you want to see that change, you have to be that change. And of course, through that lovely connection that I have with my team and like coming through and the energy flowing through and that insight and information, that's where I get inspired. And I know what's this like because for me, it was hard. It was a tough beginning. So for me, my spiritual journey, and it opened up for me when I was 13. And, I do not know, even to this day, I still really don't know what made me go looking, but I went looking. And it was one of those times, and it was just the dawn of the internet. And those who are listening and were around at that particular time would remember the old 56K dial-up modem, going through all of that. And I was searching on good old Netscape Navigator, and I was using Alta Vista search engine. I'm using like these things are like seem so ancient now in the technology world, but they were there and they did get used. And I went looking, and the beautiful thing is I went looking and I found it. Don't know what, but there was something inside of me, but I listened to it. I followed it through, and I found a beautiful connection to, the spirit world and the universe. And it has changed my life forever. And I'm super grateful for the whole change in that. It has been a big driving factor for me all through my life. And it's been very powerful. The hard part was, though, which I am absolutely certain so many of you will know, that when you discover this and you feel like you've got these abilities and they're starting to awaken, or you develop a beautiful, healthy, strong interest in this field, it can be very hard to talk to people about it because, I tend to find when you do, people either give you the look of, oh, wow, like that's so exciting. Do you have the same thing? And did this happen to you? And all of a sudden you're talking a million miles an hour and you really connect on a great level and you're like, oh my God, awesome. And then, or you go, okay, that's nice. I'm going to step over here now and I'll leave you alone. It tends to be one of the other. And it's like, so sometimes because of that reaction, and I don't know, because I've been doing it for long enough, I've had many of those reactions on both sides, that you tend to learn to be very careful. And, you have a greater level of discernment when you are talking about these particular interests with people, because it does matter to us. And I know for me, it matters to me, and it will matter to you if you're listening to this. And therefore, you're naturally going to be a little bit more protective of it, because it is very easy for people to look down on you or dismiss you because they don't know about it, they don't understand it, or they may just naturally not believe it. Whatever it may be, the whole thing is we feel judged, and therefore we will retreat. And that pushes our confidence down. And that's never a good thing. I was pretty fortunate because my family were neither. They were very, very neutral. I'm pretty sure that my parents at the time were just hoping it was a phase. I hope he's, maybe if we just leave him be, he'll move out of this. But, it went the opposite way. I think crystals weren't far behind. Tarot cards weren't far behind, but it was a beautiful journey. But I'm forever grateful for my parents and like kind of letting me find my own way with it. And I know for a fact that they had no idea this is where I was going to end up. And I had no idea this is where I was going to end up. But the whole point is, though, throughout that time, from my teenage years, pretty much all the way through for the first 10, 15 years, it was very lonely. And I think so many of you could relate to that. It can be a very, very lonely path. It can be very hard to find the right people who might be supportive, understanding, and will be happy to nurture you. And in that way, so it's through those experiences, and I remember what it was like, and I know it was hard at times. There was things that I wanted to talk about. I was reading books where I could. I was reading websites where I could. And as much as that was helpful, there was also a point where it became more unhelpful. And what I mean by that is I feel like I end up with more questions than answers. And when I was trying different things, I was left with my own devices. And I think my brain and my logical selves kicking in going, oh, did you do this right? is this right? Is this wrong? I don't know. Or can I do this better? Or how do I improve this? But I had no one to talk to. So that made it really hard. And of course, when you're in that headspace, and I really mean headspace, you really do get into your own head, that really triggers and activates that self doubt. That self doubt then spirals down that confidence. And of course, when we don't have that confidence, we don't try new things. And of course, we get more shy. We tend to step away from it and we just kind of let go of it. And it's a bit of a shame that that's what happens to a lot of us. And I think, I was very, very fortunate because in that very, very first moment for me in opening up and connecting, it did scare me. Oh, don't get me wrong. It was a scary moment because I did a process called automatic writing. And I was doing it at like 2 or 2:30 in the morning, as you do when you're, 13, 14-year-old. And sitting there and you kind of were, and all of a sudden the pen did move by itself. Oh my goodness. It was like, boom, pen over that way, book over in this other direction. And I was like, what do I do? What do I do? What do I do? I couldn't obviously knock on my parents' bedroom door. Mum, Dad, guess what? I just connected at 2:30 in the morning. I don't think they'd appreciate that, especially my father, because he would have been on night duty or something. But the whole point was at that moment, this beautiful voice, very calm, very still, very clear, said to me, sit down and finish. They are the most important words that I've had in this journey, and that's why I see it through. And because of all of that, this moment has led me to create this beautiful community and help inspire people, help them on their journey, and understand that your personal journey here right now and your spiritual journey are completely interlinked. They are not separate. And that's why I've created this, so you don't have to do it alone. And that's why Be the Change has been fundamental in that. And even in this right now, I encourage you to think about who you are, what you're wanting, where are you wanting to go with your knowledge, your practical skills, your understanding with all of this interest. Where do you want to go with it? And it's not about like you have to do something with it, but it's about where would you like to go? Where would you like to see yourself? And now, if you can see that and you'd like, I want to know more and I want to have this or I want to do that, be that change because you have to do it. We all must activate that part of ourselves. So it is a very, very powerful quote. And when you do look at it a little bit closer and you look at our life, you can really see how this quote does affect people, like including myself. Now let's have a look here. Like, another example of how this affects is like you think how many of your past experiences can have a big impact on your future. My story just then, like it has had a fundamental impact on my life. And I know that would be the case for so many of you listening. Then, of course, you got to think about it of when someone loses a loved one through like tragic circumstances, whether it's like a car accident or, a very sudden passing or something like that. But quite often through those circumstances, it can inspire the people left behind or drive them to become something more. They might want to become the nurse or the doctor or the paramedic so they can be there to save someone. And these circumstances do drive us, and it all comes back to being that change. Another classic example is, someone who suffers a trauma when they're younger. Like usually they will go off and they'll pursue that career in counseling or psychology or wanting to help in some shape or form. And it's a bit of a cycle, but it's a beautiful cycle because it inspires, and being that change to help break cycles, to help improve lives down the track, which is a beautiful thing. Now, this also brings up because I remember I had a client who was in aged care, and unfortunately their loved one who was in aged care was abused. And it was a really sad story, and I was helping her through, and I just remember the amount of stress and the amount of trauma that she's going through. It was a really tough time. But the beautiful thing is, like, out of that client now has become a huge major advocate for people who are suffering the same, how to help their elderly loved ones, make sure that they're being looked after properly. So, that's a great inspirational change because they can't do it themselves. So we have to be the change for it. And that client went off and did that. And it was huge and it made national headlines. And what I love about this is, again, it's another beautiful example of turning it around and being the change. We can have tough times. We can have tragic circumstances. But what's really important is that we always have a choice. That choice is you are either going to let it define you, which means you're going to stay there and stay in that space and dwell on that lower negative energy of, oh, poor me, or this happened, or you can let it inspire you, where you're going to go, right, this is not good enough. This has got to happen, or this has got to change. And that's where it comes from. That's where the power is. And this is the message that I really want to hammer home. So even in this very first episode, I really want to encourage you to be the change. Be the change in your life. Be the change for you and for those around you. You know, it is never too late. And simply don't wait. Don't wait for the right time either. Simply take that first step, whatever it may be. Even by listening to this podcast is a step in the right direction. And I honestly believe if you're still here and you're still with me, you're listening to this for a reason, right? And the whole thing is, even if you have felt alone on your journey so far, or you have felt the pain of not being supported or feel like you fit in, perhaps you felt the struggle of wanting to know more about the spiritual world, abilities, or moving forward, but don't know who to turn to or who to ask. Maybe you've had the struggle of being aware of some of your spiritual abilities, but have no idea how to consciously use them or consciously be aware of them. It doesn't matter which of these particular pains or struggles you have felt. The one thing I can tell you right now is that you are no longer alone. Here, with this and with me and everybody else on this journey with me, this is a space and a place for you. And I am really looking forward to sharing and being on this journey with you. So here, right now, be the change.